Well, hello there, and welcome to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. It is Thursday, September the 11th. And, it's one of those days that you say that. And, for those of us who remember what happened 24 years ago, it just brings back the memory of that morning. And I think it's just, I remember hearing my parents talk about where they were when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And, my grandparents talking about where they were when Pearl Harbor was invaded. And then, for me, it's always been 9/11. You say that day, you say those numbers together, and suddenly all those memories come back of what happened to our nation on that day, what happened to the world on that day, and really everything since. It's been 24 years since the United States was attacked on 9/11. Of course, we'll have much more on some of the tributes and the memorials to 9/11 coming up a little bit later in the show. Bringing Kathleen here for a second. And Kathleen, I know this is one of those days that we talk about, when it comes around, and we mark what's been 24 years, and and you think about everything that has changed since then, and how we all got up that morning. I remember it was a Tuesday morning. I got up, I watched Sports Center, I was getting ready for work, and my phone just starts ringing. And it was my girlfriend at the time calling me. She's like, "Oh my God, do you see what's going on?" And I flipped over to CNN, and I was like, and you realize in that moment what you're watching and what you're seeing is about to define all of us.
Right. It was a very uncertain moment, scary moment. I was actually getting ready for a college class. I took a morning class, and it was a statistics class at like 8 something in the morning, and maybe 9 something. And then I was watching the news and saw everything unfolding. And yeah, you remember exactly where you were, and everybody was trying to call everybody, so the cell phone signals was hard to get in touch with anybody. I remember I worked at the mall, and they actually closed the mall that day because we just didn't know what was going on in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember very clearly. You watch. I mean, we watched in real time.
Right.
Planes hitting the twin towers, then the towers falling, and the speed at which information was coming in. There were reports the White House had been struck, and all these things turned out to not be true. But what was true was earth-shattering, horrific, and
Yes.
I think in many ways continues to shape the world we have today. So again, we'll have much more on this coming up in just a little bit. But before we get to that and all the other breaking news of the day, let's do a quick check of the weather. Michelle Morgan is here with a check of our forecast as we head towards the weekend. Michelle is there. She is. All right, there's Michelle Morgan.
Day
Yep.
ahead across Central Florida. If you haven't stepped outside, it feels fall like. It feels very comfortable. Dew points are manageable. Usually we'll see our dew points in the middle to upper 70s. So that's how you just know it's muggy out there. So, I mean, we've been looking out with some pretty nice weather across Central Florida. So I do want to show you what's going on here as we take a look at the latest radar scan. It is very quiet, not tracking any rain. We had a stationary front that was over Central Florida for the past couple of days, and that's what kept things muggy. Also unsettled, rainy. We saw heavy rain in many locations for the past couple of days. Some spots picked up between 1 to 4 inches, caused a little bit of ponding, some flooding in those low-lying areas, but not the case today. And we're actually looking at a nice stretch of great weather as we head into the weekend. South of us, that stationary is continuing to sag to the south, keeping things rainy for folks over South Florida. But it looks like that stationary front has cleared for us, so we'll see a mix of sunshine and clouds as we go through today. Now, temperatures are comfortable. We are in the 80s for many of us, 81 in Ocala, 84 in the Villages, 86 in Sanford, and 90 in Titusville. So pretty toasty out there. Now, because of that frontal boundary, we have our winds out of the north generally, and it is pretty gusty along our coastline, picking up wind gust of 19 to 25 miles per hour for many coastal cities. Now, that it'll stay breezy through today heading into tomorrow. Now, because of that prompted a high rip current risk. So if you are planning a beach day today, just be mindful. Make sure you're swimming near a lifeguard. Be very careful while you're out in the ocean. And the water temperature is very warm. We're still in the lower 80s. So we are still talking about uh, the temperatures feeling like bath water generally. Now, I do want to show you the dew point temperatures. This measures the moisture content in the atmosphere. So usually when it feels muggy, we're around that 75 to 80 degree mark. So it feels tropical out there. You can see for yourself, some spots are in the upper 60s, others are in the lower 70s. So it's still humid, but it's tolerable. It's not too humid out there. And as we go through the next several days, as we take a look at the dew point trend, the mugginess, as we go through the next several days, we're going to stay in the lower 70s through Sunday. It looks like a cool front will be heading our way on Saturday, and that's going to pull in that drier air from the north, making things feel rather nice as we head into the upcoming work week. So I know I'm looking forward to it. Infrared satellite imagery showing that stationary front I was talking about draped over South Florida. We're looking pretty good here. We're just going to continue to see those clouds stream in from our west. But all in all, it's going to be a great day to have lunch outside. Just enjoy the outdoors. Now, your planning forecast as we go through the next several hours, rain chances at a minimum 20%, really confined over our southern counties for the rest of Central Florida, especially areas north and west of the I-4 corridor. I do think things will remain dry. Temperatures in the upper 80s by 4, lower 80s by 7, and then staying in the upper 70s through the remainder of the night. Forecast highs: 88 in Kissimmee, 89 in the Villages, 87 in Orlando and DeLand, and 86 in New Smyrna Beach, as well as Daytona Beach. So as we take a look at your clouds and rain forecast as we go through the next 24 hours, keeping things dry through the day, you'll see a few showers beginning to develop south of the I-4 corridor over parts of Polk, Osceola, and Brevard counties. I don't think anything will get too heavy, but looking at light to moderate rain, and that'll continue through the early evening hours. Looking dry through the overnight, may see a few isolated coastal showers early Friday morning. And through the rest of your Friday morning into, I would say, lunchtime, may see a few pop-up showers over parts of Volusia, Flagler, and Orange counties. But all in all, looking pretty dry. Now turning your attention to what's happening in the tropics. Yesterday was September 10th, which marked the peak of hurricane season. And, this is quite unusual to see the tropics fairly quiet. Not complaining, but it is unusual. But we do have a spot here that is highlighted by the National Hurricane Center in that yellow. Nothing's going to happen in 2 days. But as we go through the next several days or so, a 30% chance for a tropical formation is possible in that highlighted area due to a tropical wave that is slowly moving off the coast of Africa here. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So that's that wave that we're watching. So atmospheric conditions look somewhat favorable for tropical development. So we'll continue to watch that very slowly. But as of right now, everything else is looking generally quiet. Caribbean, not much. Gulf of Mexico looking pretty good. Looking at a little wave here out in the Caribbean, but it is running into some dry air, and that is about it. So I'll leave you here with your 7-day forecast, of course. So we're looking at 87 today, 20% chance for rain. Tomorrow, 86, a 30% chance for rain. It will be a fantastic weekend. If you have any outdoor plans, if you are looking for something to do, my 6 things to do will be up tomorrow morning. A lot of outdoor and indoor options to check out for yourself or with the family. So all in all, looking pretty good as we go through the next several days, Chris.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. I want to get to some breaking news that we are tracking right now at 12:39. Within the last hour, the FBI's office out of Utah has released a pair of photos of a person of interest. This is not necessarily the shooter, but it is somebody that they are putting pictures out of, somebody they want the public's help in identifying. And of course, this is all in relation to yesterday's shooting in Utah of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. He was giving a speech there on campus when a single gunshot rang out and he slumped over and eventually died on the way to the hospital. This is a picture again from the FBI's field office in Utah, and they're asking anyone with information to contact the FBI with more information. Of course, we have much more on this. CBS's Andres Gutierrez has the very latest.
Investigators in Utah say they have good video footage of the person they suspect killed Charlie Kirk yesterday.
We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual.
Police say they found what they believe to be the murder weapon in a wooded area, a high-powered bolt-action rifle. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News the single shot was likely fired from the roof of the nearby Losi Center. It happened right as Kirk was fielding a question about gun violence.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
Kirk was a highly influential conservative activist who was hosting an event at Utah Valley University.
He helped people to have a voice. He helped have discussions. He was probably the reason Trump won.
2 people were briefly detained after the shooting. Investigators say they determined both had nothing to do with the attack. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Orem, Utah.
And of course, this is a story that continues to develop, and we will have much more both on clickorlando.com and on News 6 coming up at 4 o'clock as more information comes out about the murder of Charlie Kirk. Of course, we began the show by talking about what today is and what today represents. 24 years since the attacks of 9/11. And you think about what happened on that day and what happened to our country and really to the entire world in just a matter of a few minutes and a few hours. So we stop each year on this day to remember the lives lost. We remember the heroes who rushed into the Pentagon, who rushed into the World Trade Center to try and rescue people out of there. And, sometimes it's a matter of a memorial, saying a quiet prayer, and sometimes it's about trying to recreate something that has meaning. Angie Casada was this morning at the Daytona International Speedway in Volusia County as several cadets, ROTC cadets from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, started climbing the stairs there at the Speedway, one stair for every stair that firefighters climbed at the World Trade Center.
I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Angie Casada, and we're at the Daytona International Speedway, and things looked a lot different this morning. Instead of racers, there was 100 ROTC cadets here making their memorial stair climb to honor the heroes of September 11th. Before sunrise, more than 600 ROTC cadets from Embry-Riddle climbed the equivalent of 2,100 stairs. The number represents the number of stairs New York City firefighters climbed inside the World Trade Center on 9/11.
Many lives were lost that day for firefighters and policemen that were all there in New York when this event happened. And it's great that we were able to showcase that that we will, as I said before, never forget this moment.
This is the second year Embry-Riddle's ROTC detachments have taken part in the tribute. But it's the first year United Airlines, which lost 2 flight crews on 9/11, has been here to mark the day.
That was an extremely significant event for us. But what today represents for us is an opportunity to honor the first responders who came to the call that day. It's an opportunity to work with and support these young students who are pursuing a career in the military to defend our great nation.
And for some, this climb was personal, like for Francis Morrissey and his son. Morrissey, a retired New York firefighter, responded to the attacks, reflecting today as his son, a senior cadet, took on the climb.
Lost a lot of good friends. Well, I actually lost 2 chiefs out of my house, Freddie Sheffield and Joe Marchbanks.
What do you want them to remember?
I just don't want them to forget. It was a major attack on us, and shortly after the community came together. It's unbelievable.
And as these cadets finished the climb, they didn't just walk away with aching legs. They left with a deeper connection to the heroes who gave everything 24 years ago. Reporting in Daytona Beach, I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Angie Casada, News 6.
The days after 9/11, we started using that phrase, never forget. And we kept it going all the years since. And I want to point out something about what you just saw there. most of those cadets, probably almost all of them, were born after 9/11. So it is up to that generation, the ones who get told by us about 9/11 and what it was like, to continue that we never forget. We remember what happened that day. We'll be right back. And welcome back to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. We go now to Apopka and a question of freedom of speech, more or less freedom of political speech. We all see the signs out there, and there's everything from the signs advertising garage sales, yard sales, to the ones advertising tax services or carpet cleaning and all of that. But during the time of year when we have elections, well, we see political signs, and they can dot all of the right of ways, fill up yards, all of that stuff, because candidates got to get their message out and supporters want to support their candidate of choice. Well, Apopka has some rules on the books that one candidate is now questioning, saying they fly in the face of not just the First Amendment, but at least one recent Supreme Court case. Justin Warmoth has this story.
And this is about not just the Constitution and not just about the First Amendment. It's about what you can and cannot put on your own private property.
Apopka mayoral candidate and attorney Matt Ongst says the city's temporary sign ordinance crosses the line.
When you actually read the ordinance as an attorney, alarm bells do go off when we're talking about the regulation of speech.
This all started a few weeks ago when Ongst received this email from the city clerk. It said in part there are to be no campaign signs placed prior to qualifying and that the signs need to be picked up immediately to avoid having code enforcement pick them up.
How does it reach the point where you're getting an email from the city about removing these campaign signs?
Well, I think the email just came because somebody took a picture of that one sign that was out. I've had signs for quite a time. I had chosen not to until I had done the legal research. So the one sign that was out was actually by the gentleman that made my signs for me, and it's at his house.
The problem, the U.S. Supreme Court has struck down ordinances similar to Apopka's for engaging in content-based restrictions.
And that Supreme Court case is a very interesting case in that you had a 9-0 unanimous decision back in 2015 that said this exact kind of ordinance is unconstitutional.
Ongst sent this letter to Mayor Brian Nelson stating the ordinance is patently unconstitutional and urging him to suspend enforcement and to place the matter on the next council agenda for immediate repeal. The next day, the city clerk told Ongst to disregard the prior emails related to the campaign signs.
I took it as they are suspending enforcement of that ordinance. Because of her email, my intention is I've already had people reach out for signs. I've given signs to people at this point. I think we're on good legal footing, and if enforcement is taken upon them, I intend to protect their rights.
The case that Justin is referencing is Reed versus the town of Gilbert. This is out of Arizona, relatively recent case as well. Dealt with signs that were put out for a church that was moving locations. And when we get into the question of something being content neutral, you are perfectly allowed as a city to put out ordinances saying that signs can only be so big, that signs can only be out for so much time before they have to be removed, like 6 months, 3 months, something reasonable. What you can't do is say, well, political signs can only be out for 3 months, but lawn care and others can be out for 6 months or 7 months. Now you've gotten into a question of them being content neutral. And the only way to determine that is to actually read the sign. And therefore, now you have crossed into a problem because then you're putting your thumb on the scale. The Supreme Court gets very sticky when it comes to political speech. It's reviewed with what we would call strict scrutiny. Anyway, a little preview of my law class. All right. From there, from Apopka, over to Winter Park. Winter Park has seen Fairbanks start to grow, and more growth is, well, like everything else around here, in the plans for the future. So right now, the city is taking a hard look at what to do about Fairbanks to ensure that when that growth comes, and it is coming, the road will be ready. Stephanie Rodriguez has this story.
I'm Stephanie Rodriguez reporting in Winter Park. Today there will be a work session to discuss Fairbanks Avenue, specifically this stretch here behind me between I-4 and 1792. The work session is a way for city leaders to guide and influence the process of development on this stretch of Fairbanks Avenue, and also try to get in front of the infrastructure needed to accommodate even more traffic here on an already busy road.
So we regularly get people coming in or calling just because they're sitting here and they see our windows, they see our sign, they're wondering what's going on.
Over the 6 years Becky Kincaid's art studio has called West Fairbanks Avenue home, she's seen traffic worsen.
There are times where from the light at 1792, it'll be backed up all the way to here. So this is Clay Avenue, so it's quite a big backup. Dump them all out.
To try to tackle the current state of the road and what the future may hold, Winter Park City staff will be updating the commission today. They describe the corridor as largely untapped by significant development, while other parts of Winter Park have already been built out. More businesses and developments are expected to pop up on this stretch of West Fairbanks. With this in mind, the city will review feedback from stakeholders and discuss the trends and goals for the area. Kincaid hopes they set their focus on improving the flow of traffic before anything else.
There's no direct way to turn left onto our street, so there's a lot of issues there. We regularly see fender benders at this light.
The work session is today at 3:30 at Winter Park City Hall. Reporting in Winter Park, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
And we just got some breaking news into the newsroom. We've had several HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities across the country, get threats today and either suspend classes or tell students to shelter in place. This just came into the News 6 newsroom, pushed out on our News 6 app. Potential threat prompts lockdown at Bethune-Cookman University. Classes canceled as a precaution. Bethune-Cookman University is on lockdown due to, quote, a potential threat to campus safety. We will, of course, continue to follow this story as Bethune-Cookman, like so many other HBCUs across the country today, receiving a threat and as a precaution, suspending classes and telling students to stay where they are and stay safe. All right, we're wrapping up with a 9-year-old prodigy. This kid is in Pennsylvania. He's already in high school, and he's taking neuroscience. Ugh. All right, Walter Perez has this story.
Aiden Wilkins of Montgomery County looks like any other kid, but he's not. The first indication was his ability to read outdoor signs when he was 2.
I could read them when most kids at my age, at like 2, could barely even speak. And
Did anybody teach you to read at that point?
no.
You just knew how to read?
Yeah, I just grasped it so fast. Then a few years later, I got a gifted test. Turns out I was gifted.
Now, at the tender age of 9, not only is Aiden already a sophomore at Reach Cyber Charter High School, but he's also taking a neuroscience class here at Ursinus College in Collegeville. Aiden's mom, Veronica, says there is a specific reason why he chose that class.
He plans to go to medical school and eventually become a pediatric neurosurgeon.
Mainly because I was like helping people around my age. And I was always fascinated by the anatomy of the brain.
Despite that, Veronica says, in many ways, Aiden is your typical 9-year-old boy who loves video games and playing soccer. but she says guiding a young, brilliant mind is anything but typical.
I'm very grateful and thankful for the opportunity and be a part of his journey, right? It's all about him and his journey and me just supporting his journey.
And Aiden offers wise words to those of us who miss the mark of genius. He says passion and determination will take you further than intellect alone.
You can do anything. You just have to really just put the work into it.
It's a cute kid, Kathleen. Very cute. You see someone like little Aiden, and I know today's newscast has been between, the 9/11 memorials and the updates on Charlie Kirk, and then, of course, what's going on with the HBCUs, including Bethune-Cookman. But you see a story like that, and still good in the world.
Right.
Aiden's a good kid.
Right. He's a good kid. He's already smarter than I will ever be, And you're a professor in college. What would you do if you had a 9-year-old student?
I'd be terrified. I really would, because, I'd be like, this kid is 9 and he's in my class. He is probably already smarter than me. Like, I wouldn't call on him, that's for sure, because he'd ask me some question, be like, Professor Heath, you cited the Brandenburg decision, but I believe the dissent from Justice Sotomayor and I'm like, whoa, you're getting into the footnotes. I don't do parentheticals. Come on. But yeah, it's, sweet kid going into neuroscience because he wants to be a doctor and help out. I mean, talk about being given a gift and then using it to help other people. That's fantastic.
Right.
So
awesome story.
Awesome story. I usually try and end these shows on an upbeat note. There's really not, other than us saying Aiden's a good kid and, reminding everyone to, kind of hug those around you, tell people your family and friends you love them one more time, and just let's all try and be better people. So anyway, Kathleen, thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you to Michelle for doing weather and giving us that update. And thank you for watching. We will be back here tomorrow at 12:30 to do this again. Of course, we're always online on clickorlando.com. And the news will start today at 4 o'clock. We'll have updates on both the threats to Bethune-Cookman and other HBCUs is the latest on Charlie Kirk. And, of course, what Central Florida is doing to remember 9/11. So take care of yourself. See you back here tomorrow.